So recently I posted a video showing my best build for the Squids. Now in that video, I mentioned that the faction was new. This was just the build I would be referring people to because everyone was asking me what's the best loadout like day 1 and day 2 that they came out. And that was the first loadout that I felt comfortable making a video about that was good enough to get through solo super Helldives. But I've played quite a bit more since then, and I think I've got a really solid build for the Squids solo. Now, as a bonus, since the Illuminates are participating in hit and run tactics, I've also got a build for the bots and the bugs, solo, super Helldive, all three. I'll be including timestamps to all the builds for all the sections of this video, so be sure to skip around to whatever section you're interested in. Let's say you just want a bug build, go ahead and skip to that section, or watch all the builds and every section, your choice. Also keep in mind, right at the start, I will just put the full builds on the screen. If that's the only thing you came here for, you just want a picture, just go to the start of that timestamp and there you go. However, as always, there's always some nuance or specific situations with how and why I'm choosing some things. Or if I get into this specific situation with this loadout, this is how I deal with it. So if you want the full picture, some, a few tips and tricks, be sure to listen to the entire sections, as well as some flex slots. There is always 1 or 2 flex slots in all of my loadouts where you can change things around to suit yourself better. Before we dive into the video, I'd like to share with you guys our sponsor, Instant Gaming, a website where you can get games much cheaper. You forgot to get your friend a Christmas gift this year. You're one of those after the last minute shoppers like I am. Send them a code to a game they've been talking about from Instant Gaming. You can often find them for anywhere from 20% off to even up to 90% off, depending on what game it is. Most of the games fall somewhere in the middle, but either way, it's a great deal. And do me a favor and use my link in the description. That way, Instant Gaming knows to keep sponsoring my videos. All right, so first things first, we have to cook ourselves from calamari. That is the hot faction right now. What better way to do that than with some fire? Now, one primary weapon that feels great against the hordes of voteless, as well as the melee overseers, is the cookout. So we're going to be starting this loadout with the cookout. And you can see the whole loadout on the screen right now, but let's go ahead and talk about some of the primary weapons. I've been testing every primary weapon against the Squids. I haven't gotten through all of them yet. I still need to try the SMGs. But the cookout is one that I particularly enjoy. Now, many people enjoy the Purifier, and they say that's the best primary weapon to use against the Squids. However, the Squids are not, particularly armored. They're also not particularly tanky. They don't have super high health. The Purifier is definitely a gun that can get you through solo games. I've done it myself. So if you like the Purifier, go ahead and use it. But since the Squids don't require all that extra damage, I actually prefer picking a gun that I can use when there's 15 zombies in my face or a melee overseer trying to bash me down. I actually prefer to use ballistic weapons against this faction. And technically the cookout is just that. It's a ballistic weapon that I can stagger a melee overseer with. And it actually can kill them in like 4 shots if you get it aimed in really good at their chest. The AoE effect of spraying fire everywhere, as well as the stagger to, like I said, stop that overseer from bashing me, makes this gun particularly handy. Another great option that has been my go-to is the sickle, but if you haven't tried the cookout yet, I recommend giving this one a try, and I'll think you like it. Now for the support weapon, especially for solo play, I highly recommend the medium machine gun. Now I did also recommend the medium machine gun in my last video, so if you have been using this a lot and want another option, I think the heavy machine gun or the AMR are other solid choices. Since I pretty much use the cookout for all of the voteless, and I pretty much use the cookout for all the melee overseers as well, I hardly ever switch to my medium machine gun for them. A weapon like the HMG or the AMR can take down the jetpack dudes and the tripods. So if you wanted an option to focus specifically on the jetpack dudes and the tripods, AMR, HMG are great options. But in solo play, the medium machine gun is phenomenal. It has tons of ammo compared to the HMG and AMR, so it just blasts everything down when you need it to. It also strips shields pretty phenomenally. In general, I think the medium machine gun is one of the best, if not the best support weapon. I do think it's probably the best support weapon against the faction, just because it kills everything. Mr. Pips was saying he liked the arc thrower a bit better. The arc thrower is actually very good, but I do like killing the tripods a bit quicker. Again, especially in solo play. And one quick tip I will give you guys for killing the tripods really fast with a medium machine gun is go prone and straight up lay down on the floor and then put it in the fastest RPM and focus fire on one of the joints for quicker kills. Now, most of you probably know that going prone helps your recoil on every weapon, but I don't know if you know how tremendously it helps your recoil. It makes it fire almost like a laser beam. You can easily control the recoil when full spraying. One other random thing is normally I try not to lay on my side. I try to either lay straight forward or straight back. For some reason, when you're laying on your side, aiming it sideways like that, it's a little bit weird. All right, so now for the stratagems. First, we have to talk about the Ballistic Guard Dog Liberator backpack. It is by far the best option. This is something I wasn't using in my previous video. Now, the jump pack is the most fun option, but personally, when I'm playing, I like to stand and fight and literally kill everything I can possibly see on my screen. I don't play stealth. I don't try to run away or do objectives. Now, obviously, I do objectives to win the mission, but I am going for kills. And the little Liberator backpack buddy kills everything in this faction, probably except for he technically could kill the tripods now that I think about it, but he probably won't aim for the right spot. All right, our third stratagem will be the Gatling Sentry, because when things get really out of control, this thing will completely clean up entire call-ins. Just make sure to place it somewhere a harvester won't instantly kill it. So place it behind a building compared to the harvester, or around a corner. Literally the only thing that kills the Gatling Sentry is like a harvester, or maybe if you get unlucky and just a bunch of stuff focuses it. But normally only the tripods kill my Gatling Sentry, so I just try to place it around a corner, and then I focus the tripods. And it wipes entire call-ins. I pretty much just save it for when the call-ins happen, and it's very solid. Again, go prone so it doesn't shoot you. We learned that one in training, and we're already going prone to control our spray on the medium machine gun anyway. All right, so now in this last slot, I think you can take any sort of airstrike or red stratagem that you want. I chose gas strike for this solo game I was doing. I do actually think cluster bombs would be really good. Now, for what it's worth, this is the flex slot. This is my least used stratagem in the loadout. Sometimes I only throw it once or twice during the game, and I don't even really need to. However, some games you do get into a situation where you're starting to get overwhelmed. You want to have something to be able to call in and land and do damage or cut off an area. And I really like area denial, so I really do like gas in this game. Turrets are much better than airstrikes against the Illuminates in general, but it's like I said, sometimes you get overwhelmed a little bit, and you do need something to come down right now. Now, some people like Eagle Strafing Run, but I find that Eagle Strafing Run is better for objectives and it's a bit more narrow. And like I said, this is my flex slot for when I'm getting overwhelmed, I need something to land and kill things. So I do think gas strike, or honestly cluster bombs. I do have to play with cluster bombs a bit more against this faction, but every time I did use it, it did work out pretty well for me. So I do want a red stratagem that's gonna come in and help me stop getting overwhelmed if I need it. And I don't always need it, so this is the flex slot. All right, so for the grenade and the sidearm, when it comes to solo play, I'm using the grenade pistol. Again, if you're in squads, you have way more leeway. You could use your stun baton if you want to. But in solo, I have to kill all the UFO fabricator thingies myself, and I also have to take out all the Tesla towers myself, and impact grenades are pretty much the best for doing that. And a grenade pistol might as well be an impact grenade. Now, for the actual grenade slot, I'm using fire impacts. Now, regular impacts are great, but the difference between fire impacts and regular impacts, at least when it comes to Illuminate, is the fire impacts. I can actually throw them pretty close to myself if I run around a corner and there's a giant horde of zombies, which there seems to always be, and then I dive away, and I actually won't kill myself with a fire impact, whereas I would with a regular impact. So I do prefer fire impacts in this slot. Usually I throw it like maybe 5 meters away from myself. Like obviously I won't throw it at my feet, but I throw it like 5 meters away and I dive, and usually I'm fine. I might have to stim or something, but it doesn't kill me. All right, so when it comes to armor against the squids, I don't think a specific choice is just the best, or I don't think a specific armor is necessary. Personally, I like the newer armor with the 25% ammo and reload speed, or whatever it is, since it does give ammo to my medium machine gun, and it seems like the reload speed helps the stationary reload. But you could probably go with whatever you like. That's the armor I like the most against the squids. All right, so that's the build for the squids. Let me know what you guys use solo against this faction. I think a lot more stuff works against this faction right now because we're just fighting the Vanguard. But once more enemies show up, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the loadouts didn't change that much. Hopefully they don't add some like crazy armored unit to this faction. It's really fun blasting with machine guns. All right, so moving on to the automatons. And before we get into this, listen, I love the AMR. I love setting up and methodically taking down enemy to enemy pinpoint precision. Okay, I love blasting bots with the railgun. Hell, I even love using the airburst rocket launcher for the mobs and then rocket and autocannon sentry for the big guys. There's lots of fine options against the bots, but this video is titled Best Builds for each faction. So how would I ever give you guys a build that's not using the recoilless rifle? There's a Hulk, there's a dropship, there's a gunship, there's a tank, there's a factory strider, bam, recoilless rifle. All the big threats this weapon deals with. So really, our main threats are gonna be the mobs, the Devastators, and the rocket striders. And the best primary weapon for both of these now, in my opinion, is the Diligence Counter Sniper. Now, I did say I do like soloing with the AMR and, methodically taking stuff out. The DCS lets me play that fantasy as well. It one-shots the Devastators in the face. However, after the change to the Rocket Strider rocket hitbox working now, the DCS one-taps the Rocket Striders in the rockets, and oh my god, it is so satisfying getting revenge on these guys after months of them constantly blasting me down. I can actually kill them now. It's pretty nice, okay? Every time I shot the rockets off before, the railing broke off. Now, the great thing about the DCS is that if you can't get a clear shot on the rocket, you could just spam his pelvis. And same with the Devastators. If you miss the headshot, it's just 5 body shots from the DCS, which is still a very fast kill. You waste a little bit more ammo, but that's still a pretty good kill. Just 5 quick shots from a DCS to the chest of a Devastator. And hey, keep in mind, if you're shooting a Devastator in the back, aim for its leg. I think it's only 3 or 4 shots to the leg. I want to say 3. So keep in mind the different body parts of these different enemies you can shoot at. Pretty much the DCS not only one-taps all the mobs, but it just has great killing potential if you miss that headshot. And let's be honest, no one's aim is perfect unless your name is Shroud. All right, so moving on to the rest of the stratagems, the Eagle Strafing Run is just amazing for fabricators. It's pretty solid for patrols. I don't think I need to explain why the Strafing Run is so good against the bots. It's just a Swiss Army knife. It's solid in many situations. It's not necessarily the best against big hordes or anything like that, but it's really good utility, and it's really solid against patrols in my opinion. I think everyone pretty much likes the Eagle Strafing Run nowadays. If you're a newer player, just ask for some more tips on how to use this in the comments, but it's pretty universally popular. I don't think we have to talk about the strafing run too much more. So moving on to the Rocket Sentry, it is a go-to in any loadout against the bots. It kills Hulk super quick. It can heavily damage factory striders. It can take out tanks. And then on top of that, it's insane for mobbing, even against the bots, because the Devastators are heavily armored, but it kills them very, very fast. It has really good ammo economy and uptime. And the main strength of the Rocket Sentry is it shoots from extremely long range. I forget what they buffed it to. I think 100 meters or even 125. So be sure to place it in strategic locations. If you can place it next to a wall where it has line of sight on a group of enemies, but, another group of enemies can't see it and blast it down, or just place it really, really far away because it has way longer range than you think. Obviously, the more you play with this, the more you'll get down, like where to place it and whatnot. Just put it in a good spot where it can take out a bunch of groups of enemies, but they don't blast it down too quickly. All right, and for the final stratagem, this again is a flex slot. I picked the 120mm barrage. This is my least used stratagem. Now that I'm recording this video, I can't even remember if I threw the 120 once in the background footage, but I just wanted something big that packs a punch if things get out of hand, if I'm getting overwhelmed. To be honest with you guys, I can probably solo the bots with just the rest of the loadout I explained, but occasionally you do get into those situations where, again, things get out of hand. They call in an extra big call in. You need something to take it down, or maybe weaken the mega base before you enter there. The 120 is just pretty solid for bases as well as giant call-ins and stuff like that. This seems like something to stabilize against a detector tower. Again, this is a flex slot. You could use whatever you want here, but that's why I chose the 120, and I will probably continue to bring it in my loadouts for that reason. All right, so moving on to the sidearm. You'll probably notice from the background footage that I am absolutely nuts. I was using the stun lance against the bots. Now, if you're crazy like I am and you know how to dodge hulks like a pro, you can get behind them and actually stun them in their heat sink. The stun lance is surprisingly satisfying against the bots. I usually just try to stun the Hulk and then I'll finish it with my primary. It's a little bit hard to aim. I noticed ADSing with the stun lance, you can kind of aim it a little better. It actually pokes the heads out of the, I say poke the eye out of the Devastator. It actually one-taps their heads, and it's honestly pretty solid for berserkers in close quarters. All right, so if you're not crazy, just bring the Senator, but I was using the stun lance in the background footage. But the Senator has heavy armor piercing. You gotta bring the big iron against the bots. And for the grenade, I was using gas since it can confuse larger enemies, it can kill the small boss, it can provide good area denial. But if you find yourself running out of rockets with the recoilless, then I would recommend bringing thermite. So I do think this is a bit of a switch between solo or group play. In solo play, the whole resupply is mine. I don't run out of ammo, so I'll bring gas. But maybe in group play, because, you have to share the resupply, you might end up running out of rockets. Maybe bring thermite if you're playing squads. All right, so when it comes to armor, I think using a defensive option is the best against the bots. 129 explosive resist, or at least I think it's 129. I'm putting the screenshot in the video now. This is the most consistent in my defensive armor, in my opinion, because you have just a little bit more health than medium armor, which actually gives you headshot resistance over the medium armor. So it stops you from getting one shot in a lot of situations compared to medium, but you just have a bit more movement speed compared to heavy. So this is the sweet spot right in the middle. Now I'm recommending this one because I think it's the best and it's the most consistent. But personally, I've been a Democracy Protects enjoyer ever since the Helldivers 1 armor. That armor drop got me to wear that armor all day, and it was saving my life a lot more. However, some people don't like gambling like I do. But personally, I just look at the Democracy Protects armor as a faster option because it has medium speed, and then it saves me in like 50% of situations. So if you kind of think about it like that, it actually makes sense why it's really good. All right, so enough of the bots, moving on to the bugs. And when it comes to solo play, I think this faction is the hardest. Now, I think the Bile Artillery Seeds, as well as the Nursing Spewer Seeds, are actually pretty easy. But the Alpha Commander Seed, where they are constantly spitting red warriors at you and you are running the entire game, that is actually difficult. Now, for what it's worth, in group play, they're much easier, very manageable. I actually think maybe I don't know which, I think all the factions are kind of easy in groups. But again, in solo, constant red warriors, groups of hunters distracting you, chargers charging you. Okay, to be honest, those three things I just named, that stuff is manageable. It's when the Impaler tentacles start showing up and knocking you down, a random stalker coming out of nowhere, or God forbid, I think I hate Shrieker Nests in solo the most. But the bugs actually can be quite difficult. I'm not even gonna sit here and act like I win every solo bug game I play. With that being said though, the support weapon I found the most success with, and I think I have the most wins with, is the Grenade Launcher and Supply Pack combo. The Grenade Launcher wipes giant hordes of Alpha Commander spam, hunters, all of the mobs, and there are non-stop mobs, especially with the red warriors spawning non-stop, so the grenade launcher is amazing for that, but it also has a really fast impaler kill. It's also really good at killing stuff like Shrieker Nests or the Shroom Towers. Now, we're obviously using the supply pack, and that is not a downside. It gives us tons of stims, but it also gives us tons of grenades, and we are again using the gas grenades. There are literally so many mobs, it is insane. And gas grenades are definitely probably the best grenade against the bug. I often throw a gas grenade at my feet, I run through it to bait the bugs into it, and then I use that to create space so that I could start blasting with my grenade launcher. All right, so quickly for the primary weapon and the sidearm. So the grenade launcher can kill chargers. It's 3 direct hits to their wagon, but sometimes it can be a bit awkward. The primary weapon with the best charger kill out of all of them is the Scorcher. Now, the full auto Scorcher might not be as high damage per shot as the Purifier, for example, but it has faster DPS. It has more damage per second, and it has the fastest charger kill out of all of the primary weapons. And that's not the only reason I'm bringing it. It's really good against Alpha Commanders. It's solid for Impalers. It can actually kill Bile Titans in a few magazines. I think it's like 4 or 5. But notably, when you throw a 500 kg, it doesn't always kill the Bile Titan, but it does heavily damage it, and you can finish it off with the Scorcher instead of wasting your second call-in. You can again spam it at small hordes. It kills hunters, warriors, hive guards all very quickly. It'll even kill a stalker really, really fast, by the way. It's a solid weapon against the bugs. It just has a major ammo problem. But guess what? We're bringing the supply pack. All right, so you might be wondering, I'm using 2 explosive weapons. What happens if hunters are chasing me or a stalker sneaks up on me? And that's where the secondary comes in. It is the Bushwhacker. This is quite possibly the best sidearm against the bugs because it's just a pocket stagger machine against the faction with the fastest enemies in the game. It's got tons of ammo. It completely stops stalkers and hunters in their tracks. And keep in mind, I use this in single shot mode. I rarely ever use the triple shot mode because if you aren't accurate, then the triple fire will not kill a stalker. You have to actually land the pellets in the face to kill it. Mainly, you want to use it to stagger them with 1 shot, and then the second shot, you get that clear headshot. And same with hunters chasing you, you get 3 shots, so you can shoot the leaping hunter, and then 2 more, and then reload it and keep going. Or even swap to the Scorcher at that point, because hunters only pounce 1 at a time now, so if you kill that 1, usually you can swap to your primary again. But the Bushwhacker is really, really solid. I can't recommend it more. All right, so for our other stratagems, we're using the Gas Strike and the 500 kg. The Gas Strike is for bug breaches or nests, and the 500 kg is the only thing on our loadout for Bile Titans. Now, I don't often see so many Bile Titans. I think Impalers and Chargers and other stuff is taking up the enemy pool. However, if the 500 kg is on cooldown and a Bile Titan shows up, I'll just blow off their sacks with the Scorcher, clear out a ton of the mobs, and then you can actually just spam the Scorcher at its stomach until it dies. I can't even remember the last time I was in that situation solo. It's definitely happened before, if I'm being honest. Usually I don't see enough Titans for that to be a problem, but again, keep in mind what I said earlier. If your first 500 doesn't kill a Titan, it usually heavily damages it, and finish it off with the Scorcher. Don't waste 2 call-ins. This is our only Titan killer in the loadout. Technically, the grenade launcher and Scorcher can do it on its own, but it is a pain in the ass. You really do want to throw a 500 at a Bile Titan. The Scorcher is like a last resort sort of option against Bile Titans. It shouldn't be your main thing to use. All right, so last up for this loadout is the armor, and stim armor is pretty much the GOAT as it always has been. With our supply pack, we have tons of stims and grenades. But that +2 second stim time is clutch. That's 2 extra seconds of stamina-free running. And oftentimes I like to use the stim booster so that I can get 6 seconds of fast stamina-free running. All right, so that's it for the video. These are my best builds that can do the content solo comfortably, which means that these builds will work just fine in squads. You really shouldn't lose any squad games if you're using these really good loadouts. Keep in mind, these are meant for solo. You can definitely tweak things if you're playing with friends. For example, in solo, I would bring the medium machine gun to Squids over the heavy machine gun pretty much every single time because it has more ammo and it kills everything. But let's say I'm playing with friends and all my friends are using stalwarts. They didn't bring like harvester killing weapons. Well, I would pick the HMG in that scenario because it kills harvesters faster than the medium. And all my friends have stalwarts, so they can cover my low ammo on my HMG, or they can cover me while I'm trying to reload, and then I kill the tripods, I kill the jetpack dudes. It's sort of a case-by-case basis. There's a ton of different variables when you're choosing your loadouts specifically. So again, these are just my best loadouts. Let me know what you guys like to use in the comments. I will say I'm more interested in solo loadouts. So if anyone runs solo, let me know what your loadouts are, and maybe I'll try them out next time I'm streaming, and you can see what I think. And like I said, I'm more interested in solo because that's the hardest version of the game. You can get away using most things in group play, but you can't get away with any loadout in solo. So I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.